Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into the story of a motorcycle that's really more than just metal and rubber. It's a legend, forged in some of the toughest places on Earth, the Honda Africa Twin.
Yeah, that name alone just brings up images, doesn't it? Vast deserts, tough trails, exploration.
Exactly, the spirit of exploration. And what's interesting right away is this true adventure idea Honda had.
Right. It wasn't just marketing speak, was it? It seems like it was baked in from the start, a real design philosophy.
Absolutely. And that's our mission here, to really understand how this icon came about. We're going to trace its journey.
From the rally roots.
Yeah, from the brutal world of rally racing all the way up to the super sophisticated tech-heavy bikes you see now.
We've got some great sources lined up. Should give us the full picture, warts and all.
It should. So expect some maybe surprising facts, key insights into what really makes the Africa Twin. Well, a legend. Okay, let's get into it.
Right. And the only place to really kick this off is the Paris-Dakar rally. The heat, the dust.
That had to be the ultimate testing ground back then.
Oh, absolutely. For adventure bike tech, nothing came close. And that's where the Africa Twin legend really began.
Okay, so Honda's early days. They made a mark pretty quickly, didn't they?
They did. Back in '82, Cyril Neveu. He won it for Honda. First time.
On an XR500R, right. But like a heavily prepped one.
Yeah, Honda R&D and RSC, the Racing Service Center, they built that bike. It was a big statement. Honda's first win.
But that bike, even prepped, it wasn't purpose-built for Dakar, was it?
Well, exactly. It showed promise, but the rally was just getting so intense. Other manufacturers were bringing out these specialized machines. A modified production bike wasn't going to cut it for long.
Right, so Honda needed something designed purely for that race.
Which led them to the NXR 750. And this wasn't just like an update. This was HRC Honda Racing Corporation starting from scratch.
Okay, HRC, that means serious business. What was it like?
Liquid-cooled V-twin. Around 779 cc, maybe 65 horsepower, give or take, based on what we've seen.
But more than just the engine, I imagine.
Oh, yeah. That distinctive fairing. That was crucial. Rider protection, aerodynamics over those incredibly long desert stages.
And the focus wasn't just speed.
No, stability and just sheer durability. That bike had to withstand unbelievable punishment day after day after day.
And it worked. I mean, really worked. 4 wins in a row.
Dominance. Utter dominance. 86, 87, 88, 89. Cyril Neveu again. Edie Orioli. Legends riding a legendary bike.
That's incredible.
And you got to think of like a rolling lab, right?
Yeah.
HRC was testing everything out there in the absolute toughest conditions.
So the lessons learned went straight back into development.
Directly. It wasn't just about trophies. It was proving engineering concepts, proving reliability. And that battle-tested DNA, that's what went into the first production Africa Twin. Yeah. So when you bought one, you were getting a piece of that Dakar-proven engineering.
Which brings us right to it. The birth of the legend as we know it. The XRV 650 Africa Twin. RD03.
1988, yep. Straight out of that NXR 750 success.
And interestingly, HRC was involved in the production initially.
Yeah, they oversaw the first run, which, again, just signals how serious Honda was. This wasn't just putting Dakar stickers on a standard model. It was bringing that rally engineering to the street, or, well, the trail.
It was conceived as a true adventure production model. That was the phrase, right?
Mm-hmm. And it was pretty unique then. A big V-twin in a proper off-road chassis.
Yeah.
Most bikes were trying to be sport bike replicas. This was different.
What was the engine spec on that first one?
It was a 647 cc, 52-degree SOHC V-twin. And it's interesting, it actually shared some lineage with the Transalp, even the NT650 Hawk.
Okay, power output.
Somewhere around 52, maybe 57 horsepower.
Yeah.
In that ballpark.
And the look, I mean, it screamed Dakar.
Totally. That huge 24-liter tank, the rally-style fairing, headlight guard, proper bash plate, hand guards. It had the look, but it also had the function.
It basically created the rally replica genre, didn't it?
Pretty much. It set the template visually and functionally for so many adventure bikes that came later.
But it wasn't just about looks. Honda did something pretty amazing in '89, this Objet Dakar project.
Yeah, that's a fantastic story. Honda France basically invited 50 regular people, members of the public.
Not pro racers.
Nope, everyday riders. Invited them to ride the '89 Paris-Dakar on basically stock XRV 650s. Honda provided support, but the bikes were largely unmodified.
Wow. Taking on Dakar on a stock bike? That's brave.
And the results. Just incredible. 18 of them finished the Dakar.
18 amateurs.
Yep. And Africa Twins took first and second in the marathon class. That's the class for unmodified production bikes.
That's maybe the ultimate proof of concept.
Absolutely. It showed just how tough and reliable that XRV 650 was straight out of the box. It proved true adventure wasn't just marketing. It was real capability that, non-professionals could actually access and rely on.
That real-world validation must have been huge for developing the next one, the XRV 750. You can imagine the feedback from those guys finishing Dakar.
Oh, for sure. That experience, proving its toughness with regular riders, that definitely shaped what came next.
Okay, so after the 650 proved its mettle, Honda brought out the XRV 750. And this is the model that really cemented the legend, right? It went through a few versions from 1990 up to 2003.
That's right. The first XRV 750, the RDO4, landed as a 1990 model. Bigger engine, obviously. 742cc liquid-cooled V-twin.
Any other engine changes?
Yeah, got a 6-valve setup and dual spark plugs. Bumped the power up to around 62 horsepower, a bit more grunt.
And they started tweaking it more for, everyday riding, too, touring.
Definitely. The RDO4 got a bigger windscreen, brighter headlights, a bigger battery, things that make longer trips easier. And the brakes are upgraded twin discs up front now.
Better stopping power. Always good.
Yep. But it kept the important stuff. 21-inch front, 17-inch rear wheel. Still had their big 24-liter tank. Then in 92, they added something really cool.
The TripMaster.
The TripMaster, yeah. The digital trip computer,
yep.
Dual odometers, trip countdown, stopwatch. Just like the Dakar road books. A nice touch of that rally feel for the owner.
But there was a subtle shift, wasn't there? HRC wasn't directly building them anymore.
Correct. Production moved away from direct HRC oversight. And yeah, some purists, they felt maybe that ultimate, almost over-engineered feel of the very first ones wasn't quite there. Maybe lost some of the quick-release fasteners, things like that.
The perception was it was becoming, what was the quote? More of a dad bike, more civilized.
Uh-huh. Yeah, something like that. Which probably just means Honda was aiming for broader appeal, balancing the hardcore rally image with making it, more usable day-to-day. A bit more comfort, perhaps.
Okay, then came the RDO7 in 93. That was a bigger change, right? New look.
Yeah, major redesign, new frame, new bodywork. The tank actually got slightly smaller, 23 liters.
Why the redesign? What was the goal?
Handling, mainly. They wanted to lower the center of gravity, lower the seat height a bit, down to 860 millimeters from 880.
And did it work?
Oh, yeah. Made a noticeable difference. It felt more manageable, especially at low speeds, and definitely easier to handle off-road for a wider range of riders. Less intimidating.
They dropped some weight, too.
A little bit, yeah. Down to about 205 kilograms dry. Engine size stayed the same, 742cc. Power might have dipped slightly, maybe closer to 59 horsepower, according to some sources. But the torque was still strong. Honda was clearly focused on usability over just chasing peak numbers.
Right, refinement over raw power.
Exactly.
Right.
And that leads into the final version of that era, the RDO7A. Came out in 96, ran until 2003.
What changed on the RDO7A? Mostly minor stuff.
Pretty much. Improved seat, tweaked the clutch, bigger silencer, slight changes to the fairing and luggage rack. Mostly refinement.
Anything taken away?
Interestingly, yeah. The rear shock lost some of its adjustability. Bit of a cost-saving measure, maybe, or simplifying things.
And it stayed like that for quite a while,
Yeah.
until it was discontinued.
Yeah, production wound down around 2000, 2001, but you could still buy them new until maybe 2003. And it wasn't because the bike was bad. It was famous for being incredibly reliable. Bulletproof is the word you always hear.
So why stop making it?
The market just moved on. Competitors were bringing out bikes with much bigger engines, way more horsepower. The 750 Africa Twin, legendary as it was, it just got outgunned.
So Honda decided to retire the name instead of making a bigger one right away.
Seems like it. Maybe to preserve the identity, maybe rethink their whole strategy. But yeah, that was the end of the first chapter. 15 years. Quite a run.
And then silence. A 12-year gap. That must have felt like forever for the fans.
It really did. And the whole adventure bike world changed dramatically in that time.
How so? What was happening?
Well, you saw the rise of bikes like the BMW R1200 GS becoming dominant. Ducati brought out the Multistrada, Triumph the Tiger Explorer. Often bigger engines, yeah, but also maybe a bit more focus on the touring side of adventure touring, more road bias.
But people didn't forget the Africa Twin.
Not a chance. That reputation for being tough, reliable, able to go anywhere, it just kept growing. Even when you couldn't buy a new one, it became almost mythical.
There were calls for its return, right?
Oh, constantly. Passionate requests from fans all over the world. And apparently inside Honda, some younger engineers kept that dream alive, wanting to build a new big off-roader.
So that gap, that 12-year wait, it just built up the anticipation, didn't it?
Hugely. Honda had this massive wave of brand loyalty just waiting. But it was also a massive challenge for them.
How do you bring back an icon?
Exactly. How do you modernize it?
Yeah.
Give it the tech people expect now, but keep that true adventure, that off-road soul, especially when the market seemed to be leaning more towards the road. Big question.
Which sets the stage perfectly for the comeback, the rebirth.
Yeah.
The CRF 1000L Africa Twin.
Yeah, arriving for 2016. And Honda played it smart. That whole true adventure marketing campaign, referencing the Dakar history, they built the hype brilliantly.
What was the core idea behind the new bike?
To capture the spirit of the originals, capable, reliable, good off-road, but bring it up to date with modern tech, Honda explicitly said they wanted it lighter and more capable off-road than a lot of the competition at the time.
And the biggest change right away was the engine. No more V-twin.
Nope. Brand new 998cc liquid-cooled parallel twin, SOHC, 8 valves.
Why the switch? People loved the V-twin.
Pragmatic reasons, mostly.
Yeah.
A parallel twin is generally more compact. That allows for better chassis design, maybe a shorter wheelbase, a slimmer feel between the knees. All good things for off-road handling and agility.
But they tried to keep some of that V-twin feel.
They did, yeah, with the 270-degree crankshaft. That firing order gives it a power delivery and sound that's, more characterful than a typical 180-degree parallel twin. Feels a bit like a V-twin, gives good traction feedback.
Power figures for the 1000.
Around 94 horsepower, about 72 pound-feet of torque. Respectable numbers for the time.
And it brought some new tech to the table. The DCT was a big one.
Huge. The optional dual-clutch transmission. And crucially, Honda didn't just slap it on. They specifically tuned it for off-road use.
How so?
Well, it offered better rider control in some ways. Definitely reduced fatigue on long rides or in tricky terrain. And importantly, it prevents stalling. That's a massive confidence booster off-road.
And other electronics. ABS, traction control.
Yep. Switchable ADS, you can turn off the rear ABS for dirt riding. And Honda selectable torque control, HSTC. Pretty standard stuff now, but key features then.
But they kept the off-road hardware focus.
Oh, yeah. Long travel Showa suspension. And that classic wheel combo, 21-inch front, 18-inch rear. It clearly signaled this bike was serious about dirt.
When did it actually hit the dealerships?
Late 2015 in the UK, early 2016 in the US, and Honda iterated quickly.
What changed soon after?
By 2018, they'd added throttle-by-wire, which allowed for more sophisticated riding modes, more levels for the traction control, HSTC, and they tweaked the intake and exhaust a bit.
And 2018 was also when the adventure sports arrived.
That's right, the Africa Twin Adventure Sports, or AS, clearly aimed at the long-haul crowd.
How was it different?
Bigger fuel tank, 24.2 liters, so much better range. Longer travel suspension for, theoretically, a plusher ride and more capability, plus better wind protection from a taller screen and wider fairing. Heated grips, too, I think.
So Honda was recognizing that not everyone wanted the pure off-road focus. Some wanted more touring comfort.
Exactly. They were splitting the offering to cover more bases.
How was the CRF 1000L received overall? Positive?
Generally, yeah. Very positive. Praise for being a great all-rounder, and especially for living up to the name off-road. It felt capable.
Any criticisms?
A few things people mentioned. Dashboard visibility in the sunlight wasn't always great. Sometimes the electronics would reset your preferences when you turned the bike off, which was annoying. Minor stuff, mostly.
But it put the Africa Twin firmly back on the map?
Absolutely. It was a successful relaunch. A major player again.
Which leads us pretty smoothly into the current generation, the Apex Predator, as the outline calls it, the CRF 11100.
Yeah. Introduced for 2020. And this wasn't just an update, it was a major overhaul, a really big leap.
Okay, what were the key changes for 2020? Engine first.
Bigger engine. They went from 998cc up to 1084cc. Did it mainly by increasing the stroke length. Also new pistons, new crankshaft, revised cams, bigger throttle bodies, 46mm now straighter intake path, new ECU maps.
So it will be
more power, more torque everywhere, especially in the mid-range. Peak numbers went up to around 101 horsepower, and torque bumped up significantly, around 105 newton meters, or 77 pound-feet.
Chassis changes, too. It felt slimmer, I heard.
Definitely. New steel frame, lighter but tuned for specific flex characteristics. New detachable aluminum subframe, which was narrower. And a new aluminum swing arm, apparently inspired by the CRF 450R motocross bike. Slimmer bodywork overall.
But the biggest news was the electronics, wasn't it? The IMU?
Oh, absolutely. The 6-axis inertial measurement unit. That was the game changer. It became the brain for a whole suite of really advanced rider aids.
Like what? What did the IMU enable?
Okay, so you got cornering ABS that works even when you're leaned over. Traction control, HSTC, that's also lane angle sensitive. Wheelie control, rear lift control under hard braking. The DCT even got cornering detection to smooth out shifts mid-corner.
Wow, that's a comprehensive suite.
And more. Multiple riding modes, both preset and customizable. Cruise control became standard. And that big new 6.5-inch TFT touchscreen display. Full color, Apple CarPlay. Android Auto came later with an update. Bluetooth too. Just a massive tech upgrade.
And they continued that split between the standard and the adventure sports, made them even more distinct.
Even more so.
Yeah.
The standard CRF 100L really doubled down on the sporting off-road focus. Shorter rally screen, kept the 2118 wheels, smaller 18.8-liter tank, longer travel mechanical Showa suspension.
While the Adventure Sports ES went full touring tech.
Pretty much. The ES standing for electronic suspension, the Showa ERA system. Adjust damping and preload electronically. Plus, the bigger 24.8-liter tank, wider fairings, taller adjustable screen, heated grips, tubeless spoked wheels came standard. Rear rack, bigger skid plate. Definitely geared for the long haul.
So very clear choices for the buyer depending on their main focus.
Exactly, and they've kept refining it since 2020.
What have been the year-on-year changes?
Well, 2021 saw Android Auto added via software. 2022 brought new colors. The standard model got the aluminum rear rack like the AS, and the ES got a slightly shorter, though still adjustable screen. They also tweaked the DCT software for smoother low-speed feel.
2023.
Mostly just new colors. Pretty quiet year. But 2024, that was another significant makeover.
Okay, what changed in 24?
Engine got another tweak. Higher compression ratio, revised valve timing, intake ports, ECU tuned again. The result was about 7% more maximum torque, and crucially delivered earlier in the rev range. Plus a new muffler.
So more mid-range punch.
That was the goal, yeah. Make it feel stronger pulling out of corners. DCT got refined again. Better clutch feel at launch, smoother shifts when turning. Aerodynamics were tweaked with redesigned front fairings.
And a big strategic shift for the adventure sports.
Huge. The AS-ES moved to a 19-inch front wheel. Wider rim, 11-80-80-19 tire.
Whoa, why?
Clear pivot towards road-biased adventure touring. A 19-inch front generally offers quicker steering, more front-end feel on pavement. They also slightly reduced the suspension travel on the AES with the electronic Showa ERA, lowering the seat height and center of gravity a bit more, making it more accessible, better handling on the road.
So the AS-ES is now leaning much more towards the BMW GS multi-strata side of things.
You could definitely say that. It's a clearer positioning. Meanwhile, the standard Africa Twin kept its 21-inch front, confirming its off-road bias, but it did gain tubeless tires for 24, which is a nice convenience, and that new adjustable windscreen from the AS.
So the 2025 lineup basically carries over these 24 updates.
Yep. 4 trims remain. Standard manual, standard DCT, Adventure Sports ES manual, and its ES DCT. And Honda keeps highlighting the DCT refinements, showing their commitment there.
Okay, let's dive a bit deeper into the tech on these current 2024-2025 bikes. Engine specs again?
Right. 1083cc parallel twin, Unichem SOHC, 8 valves, 270-degree crank. Fuel injected, 46mm throttle bodies, throttle by wire. Compression is 10.5.1 now, power is around 101 HP, but that torque is up to about 112 newton meters or 83 pound-meter. Has an exhaust control valve too.
Transmission choices.
Still the 6-speed manual with an assist slipper clutch, or the 6-speed DCT. The DCT has the G switch for more direct off-road clutch feel and that IMU-informed cornering detection. And yeah, like we said, roughly half of buyers worldwide go for the DCT now.
Chassis is still that steel frame, aluminum subframe, aluminum swing arm setup?
Correct. Tuned for that balance of rigidity and flex. The detachable subframe is a plus if you damage it.
Suspension details for each, travel numbers.
Okay, standard model. Fully adjustable 45mm Showa inverted fork, about 9 inches of travel. ProLink rear with a fully adjustable Showa shock, about 8.7 inches travel. Proper long travel stuff.
And the AS-ES with the electronic suspension.
Showa ERA. Still electronically controlled damping and preload, multiple modes you can select. But with the 24 changes, travel is slightly reduced. About 8.3 inches front, 7.9 inches rear. Still plenty, but less than the standard.
Brakes. Still Nissan calipers.
Yep. Dual 310mm front discs. Nissan 4-piston radial calipers. Single 256mm rear disc.
Yep.
And that IMU-governed cornering ADS with 3 modes, on-road, off-road, and off.
And the electronic suite, just to recap, it's extensive.
It really is. 6-axis IMUs, the heart. 7-level traction control HSTC, 3-level wheelie control, selectable engine power and engine braking levels. 6 riding modes plus 2 customizable user modes. Cruise control, that's 6.5-inch TFT touchscreen with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth. The AS-ES gets cornering lights, lithium-ion battery saves weight, hugely adaptable bike.
So summarizing the difference between standard and Adventure Sports ES now. Standard. Clearly more off-road focused. Longer travel mechanical suspension. 2118 tubeless wheels. Smaller 18.8 LO tank. Lighter weight. Narrower feel, shorter adjustable rally screen. Your choice for more aggressive dirt riding.
AS.
Long-distance comfort and tech. Showa ERA electronic suspension, slightly less travel. That road-friendlier 1918 tubeless wheel setup since 24. Big 24.8 La tank, wider fairing, taller adjustable screen, heated grips, cornering lights, bigger skid plate, accessory socket standard. Generally a bit heavier, but often a lower seat height now than the standard.
And both available with manual or DCT. DCT Pros being ease of use, especially in traffic or touring, and letting you focus on line choice off-road with the G-Switch. Cons are added weight and cost.
That sums it up pretty well. Clear choices depending on your priorities.
Okay, enough specs. What's it actually like to ride these things? On the road and off? Well, the thing that always impresses is the balance. On pavement, it's remarkably stable, really comfortable for long stretches. That 270-degree crank gives it smooth, usable torque right from low down. The AS ES, especially now with the 19-inch front, feels quite nimble for a big bike, turns in nicely, and the wind protection is genuinely good for touring.
But does it still feel like an Africa Twin when the pavement ends? Does that Dakar DNA still come through?
Oh, absolutely. Get it on the dirt and it shines. The standard model with that 21-inch front and the long travel mechanical suspension, it's brilliant in properly challenging terrain. Really confidence-inspiring.
And the ASES, is it still capable off-road even with the changes?
Surprisingly capable, yes. Especially for gravel roads, lighter trails. The electronic suspension, EERA, actually does a really good job adapting. It might not have the ultimate plushness of the standard's longer travel and really rough stuff, but it handles it well. Plus, the off-road ABS and traction control modes work effectively, and that DCT with the G-Switch engaged feels really responsive. Doesn't feel as heavy as the number suggests once you're moving.
So it feels agile.
Yeah, surprisingly so for its size. Of course, the feel changes quite a bit between the standard and the AS-ES. Standard is more raw, more connected to the trail, as ES is plusher, more tech-buffered. And the DCT, well, it's smooth, convenient, great for commuting or touring. Off-road, it just lets you focus purely on riding, not shifting. And Honda keeps making it better.
Any downsides to the riding experience? Criticisms?
Well, peak power, it's adequate, definitely usable, especially with the recent torque improvements, but it's not going to rip your arms off like some of the bigger European twins. It's not perhaps exhilarating in the same way.
Okay.
Anything else? The user interface? There are a lot of buttons on the switchgear to control all that tech. And navigating the menus on the TFT screen can take a bit of getting used to. It's powerful, but maybe not instantly intuitive for everyone.
And those earlier issues. Dash, visibility, touchscreen.
Yeah, the first CRF 1000L dash could be hard to see in bright sun. The touchscreen on the 1100L is much better, but like any touchscreen can sometimes be less responsive with gloves on or if it's dusty. And you still need a Bluetooth headset connected to get turn-by-turn navigation displayed from CarPlay or Android Auto, which bugs some people.
Gotcha. But looking at the bigger picture, the Africa Twins' legacy, it's undeniable, isn't it? Its impact on the whole adventure scene.
Absolutely massive. It really helped forge that whole concept of the big bore, go-anywhere adventure bike.
And that legacy is built on
Rally-proven toughness, first and foremost, and Honda reliability. That XRV 750 was, like we said, legendary for being bulletproof. And the new ones, they seem to be upholding that pretty well. We saw one report from Ride Adventure mentioning 0 mechanical issues over 6 years of hard use. That's impressive.
Have there been any known issues with the modern ones?
There were some reports of leaky fork seals on early models, maybe some rusty spokes before they switched to stainless in 2018. Very occasionally you hear about a fuel tank liner issue. But the core engine, the transmission, DCT, they seem fundamentally very solid. Honda generally addresses things pretty well.
And the owner community is huge, right?
Oh, yeah. AfricaTwinForum.com is massive, super active, great resource for owners, troubleshooting, mods, trip reports, just sharing the experience. And the aftermarket support is fantastic. You can farkle these bikes endlessly.
So in today's really crowded adventure market, where does the Africa Twin fit? How does it stack up?
It's an interesting spot.
Yeah.
Compared to something like the Yamaha Tenere 700, well, the Africa Twin has way more power, much more tech, more comfort, but is also significantly more expensive. Honda's own Transalp is probably the more direct T7 competitor now.
Okay. What about against bikes like the KTM 890 Adventure R, the BMW F900 GS, middleweights?
There, the Africa Twin often comes across as having a smoother, maybe torquier engine character, plus the Honda reputation for reliability. It strikes a really good balance between on-road manners and off-road capability, whereas some rivals might lean a bit harder into pure off-road focus, sometimes at the expense of comfort.
And against the big European bikes, the R1300 GS, KTM 1290, Multistrada, Tiger 1200.
That's where the value proposition often comes in. The Africa Twin usually offers a lot of capability and tech for less money. It can feel lighter, more manageable, especially the standard model off-road. Now, with the 24 changes to the ES pushing it more towards road touring with that 19-inch front, it's becoming a more direct competitor to those bikes on pavement, too.
So it stays relevant, how? By offering
A really compelling blend. Genuine off-road credibility, especially the standard. Good road manners. Advanced, usable tech like the DCT. And off at a price that makes you think twice about the premium European options. It's about value and versatility.
So wrapping this up, it's been quite a journey for the Africa Twin.
Incredible journey. From those raw Dakar prototypes all the way to these incredibly sophisticated machines we have now. But through it all, that true adventure spirit seems to have remained.
Yeah, that core identity, that blend of real off-road chops and long-distance comfort engineered for getting out there.
And you have to admire Honda's adaptability, making the switch to the parallel twin, embracing electronics in the IMU, refining the DCT constantly, strategically splitting the models. They've managed to evolve it while somehow still keeping that link to the rally heritage alive.
It really is a platform for adventure, isn't it? Different versions for different riders, but all built on that foundation of reliability and capability.
Which kind of leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. Whether it's the standard model's raw off-road appeal that calls to you, or maybe the long-haul comfort and tech of the Adventure Sports ES. The Africa Twin, in whatever form, keeps inviting riders to push their boundaries to explore. So the question really is, what true adventure will you seek?